Can you understand this story? Stay until the end to test yourself.
Sarah Miller walked into the meeting room at exactly 9 o'clock. She was the sales manager at TechSoft Solutions, a software company. Today, she would meet with a potential client named David Chin. David was the operations director at Global Logistics, a shipping company. Sarah arranged the papers on the table and checked her laptop. A few minutes later, David entered the room with a friendly smile. "Good morning, Sarah," he said as he shook her hand. "Good morning, David." "Thank you for coming," Sarah replied. "Would you like some coffee before we start?" she asked. "Yes, please." "That would be great," David said. Sarah poured 2 cups of coffee and they sat down at the table. "How was your flight from Singapore?" Sarah asked politely. "It was long but comfortable." "The hotel is excellent too," David answered. "I am glad to hear that. Now, shall we discuss business?" Sarah suggested. "Of course. That is why I am here," David said with a nod. Sarah opened her laptop and turned it towards David. "As you can see, our software can track all your shipments in real time," she explained. David looked at the screen with interest. "That looks impressive. How many vehicles can it handle at once?" he asked. "The system can track up to 10,000 vehicles simultaneously," Sarah replied confidently. David raised his eyebrows, clearly surprised by the number. "Our company currently has about 3,000 trucks," he mentioned. "Perfect. The software would work very well for your fleet size," Sarah said. She clicked on another screen to show more features. "The software also provides detailed reports on fuel consumption and driver performance," she added. "Those reports would be very useful for our operations team," David acknowledged. "Now, let me tell you about our pricing options," Sarah continued. "We offer 3 different packages: Basic, Professional, and Enterprise." David leaned forward in his chair, showing more interest. "What is the price difference between them?" he inquired. "The basic package costs $50 per vehicle per month," Sarah began. "The professional package is $75 and includes the reporting features." "And the enterprise package?" David asked. "That one is $100 per vehicle but includes everything plus 24-hour support." David did some quick mental calculations. For 3,000 trucks, the enterprise package would cost $300,000 per month, he said slowly. "That is quite a significant investment," he added with a concerned expression. Sarah had expected this reaction and was prepared for it. "I understand your concern about the cost," she said sympathetically. "However, our research shows that companies save an average of 15% on fuel costs." David seemed interested in this information. 15%? That is a lot when you consider our annual fuel budget, he remarked. Exactly. Let me show you a case study from another logistics company, Sarah offered. She pulled up a presentation on her laptop screen. Fast Freight Limited had similar concerns about the investment, she explained. After 1 year of using our software, they reduced their operating costs by $2 million. David studied the numbers on the screen carefully. "These results are impressive, but our situation might be different," he said cautiously. "I would need to discuss this with our finance department first." Sarah nodded understandingly. "Of course. These decisions require careful consideration," she agreed. "However, I would like to make you a special offer today." David leaned back in his chair, curious about what she would propose. "If you sign a 2-year contract today, I can offer you a 20% discount," Sarah proposed. David's eyes widened slightly at this unexpected offer. 20% is a generous discount, he admitted. "But I cannot make such a big decision without consulting my team." Sarah smiled and pulled out a folder from her bag. "I completely understand. Here is all the documentation your finance team will need." David took the folder and flipped through the pages. "This is very thorough. I appreciate you preparing all of this," he said. There is one more thing I would like to discuss, David continued. The implementation process. How long would it take to set up the system? Sarah was glad he was thinking about practical details. For a fleet your size, the full implementation would take approximately 3 months, she answered. We would install the hardware in phases to minimize disruption to your operations. David nodded thoughtfully at this information. 3 months is reasonable. What kind of training would you provide for our staff? We provide comprehensive training for all users, Sarah explained enthusiastically. This includes both online courses and on-site workshops with our trainers. That sounds very comprehensive, David said approvingly. Let me ask you one more question about the contract terms. Of course. Please ask anything you need to know, Sarah responded warmly. What happens if we are not satisfied with the software after we start using it? That is an excellent question, Sarah said, appreciating his thoroughness. We offer a 60-day satisfaction guarantee with full refund. David seemed pleasantly surprised by this policy. A 60-day guarantee removes most of the risk for us, he acknowledged. Sarah sensed that David was becoming more interested in making a deal. David, I have one final offer to make, she said confidently. If you can give me a commitment in principle today, I will add 3 months of free support. David paused to consider this additional benefit. The 20% discount plus 3 months free support is a very attractive package, he said. He stood up and extended his hand towards Sarah. I think we have a deal in principle, David announced with a smile. Sarah shook his hand firmly, feeling very pleased with the outcome. That is wonderful news, David. I will prepare the contract documents immediately. I will need to review them with our legal team first, David reminded her. Of course. Take all the time you need, Sarah assured him. The discount and free support offer will remain valid for 2 weeks. David picked up his briefcase and prepared to leave. Thank you for your time today, Sarah. This has been a very productive meeting. Thank you, David. I look forward to our partnership, Sarah replied. She walked him to the door and they exchanged business cards. I will call you within a week with our decision, David promised. I will be waiting for your call. Have a safe trip back to Singapore, Sarah said warmly. After David left, Sarah sat down at her desk with a satisfied smile. The negotiation had been challenging but ultimately successful. She had found the right balance between offering value and protecting her company's interests. Now she just had to wait for David's final decision, confident that the deal would go through.
Learn with LingoStories.app.